So welcome back to Effingham Golf Club video blog number 8 on this gorgeous, very hot day. As we know, we're all back playing now. I think it's been a week now, and it's gone extremely well. And hats off to you all for abiding by the rules and the regulations we've set out. That's what's causing us to come back, and that's why it's working so well here at Effingham. Also, a big shout out to those marshals who are manning the car park and doing their rounds and keeping us all safe and sound at times like this. So there's a few pictures going through there of the marshals. Sorry I didn't get you all, but hopefully I've got a few of you, a couple of the ladies in there to put a bit of glamour into one of these videos. That's what it needs. So this week, as I've just said, we're in a hot day, so it's about irrigation, and we're into almost drought conditions. The course is drying up at an alarming rate. Keeping the greens to tees and where we can irrigate in good conditions are my main priority now. The reservoir is drastically going down, which we expect, and we're just dealing with a few issues at the moment with the irrigation system, but nothing unusual. So this week I'm going to talk a little bit about our mowers and the importance of our machines and how we set them up to make them cut well. So there's be a few little pictures and bits about that. We'll talk about Scarifier, and this can be applied to your lawns and what you could be doing with your lawns, not necessarily now in these hot temperatures, but definitely in the future. And we'll talk about some weed killers and how they work and what you can be using as well. So I hope you enjoy the next few bits of the video, and stay safe, and let's carry on playing golf. Cheerio. So as you can see, this is us grinding. This is a fairway cylinder mower being ground up at the moment. This is done in-house on this lathe. This goes backwards and forwards, as you can see, with a grinding wheel, and that touches every single blade and makes it very sharp indeed. It also trues the cylinder up as a perfect cylinder, which is very important when we start fixing it to what we call the bottom blade, which is the bit that traps the grass between and cuts it. So that's that process. After we've done that, we put this relief grind on, and that's that beveled back bit. We don't want to be using the whole thickness of the blade to cut grass with, otherwise it will get hot and it will blunt off very quick. So we do this relief grind and we taper it back about 30 odd degrees, and that just gives us about 2 mil cutting edge on the very front. Once we've done that, we then need to true up what we call the bottom blade, and this is what the cylinder rubs up against and traps the grass in between, and it gives a scissor effect. So this is a bottom blade being fitted to its carrier, and now we grind that absolutely parallel with the cylinder. Very important, that process is. And once we've managed to do that, and then you fit the cylinder back into the units with new bearings if necessary, and we start building the unit back up. We don't do any height adjustments yet. We don't do any adjustments, not until the bottom blade is on. And once that bottom blade's on, we then set that up to cut between the cylinder and the bottom blade. It's quite a fiddly process, but it can be done with a bit of experience. So this is it now. The blade doesn't actually touch the bottom blade, the cylinder. There's about a hair's width, and that's because when we spin them up, they expand, and that bit of expanding is then what touches the bottom blade. And we test it with paper to see how sharp they are and to make sure they're on cut, which from that you can see definitely working very well. That was cylinder mowers. This is a rotary mower. So our other type of mower we use cylinder mowers for fine cuts, low, gets down low. The rotaries don't. The rotaries are more for your rough cuts. You have rotaries at home. There's a perfect example. Hater, great machine by the way. But yeah, these are more for your lawns, unless you've got you want to get your lawn down a lot lower and really start improving it, and then you go on to these rotary mowers. And of course they work, they're called rotary mowers because underneath they have a single blade like this that spins round, and that blade too has to be very sharp. We also sharpen these blades on the similar machine to the grinder we use. We can set it up and we can put a nice new sharp edge on these. Very important, so we don't get the ripping of the grass and the whiting off of the grass. That's when we know they start to go off cut fairly easy. So that's mowers for you. I hope you understood that a little bit. Now on to an important subject, Scarifier. Now, guarantee most of your lawns would benefit from this. Before you start coring and sanding and doing anything else, Scarifier. Even those with the new electric mowers, you know, these auto robot mowers, you're still going to need to Scarify at the end of the year. So important. The organic matter is what will destroy your lawns more than anything. They'll be spongy, they'll be mossy. If you can get them scarified, that's such a good job to do, but beware, it's not for the faint-hearted. You will get hordes of debris out of your lawn, hordes of debris. And once you've scarified it, you need to fertilise it, give it a feed, because you've knocked it back quite a bit. Not when the weather's really hot, of course, not unless you can get a sprinkler on it for a long time and let it recover. It's best been done in cooler conditions, or even a little bit of wetness in the air would really help. If you want to do these things yourself, you can get electric ones, which sort of tickle it a little bit, or you can hire these more industrial ones. These are very robust. Just be prepared to have a good rake though, because you will get lots and lots of debris out. These are just petrol powered ones, usually about 16-18 inches wide cut, but it doesn't take long to do a lawn backwards and forwards. You probably want to pick the debris up in between, and then you could do it again. If you've done this 3 or 4 times a year, you would really start seeing your lawn improve, especially with a bit of seed over it from a previous video. If you're interested in hiring one of those, I recommend this company, MPS, down in Effingham Village. Very good. So weeds in your lawns. This is always a problem. So we suffer at the golf course greatly with weeds. Daisies in particular, they love compacted ground. They're historically always in the same place. We spray them off each year, but the weed killers are getting bigger and bigger. So a daisy in short grass is a weed. In long grass, it's a wild flower, unbelievably. But so we use certain chemicals. One chemical that's all talk at the moment, of course, is this one, Roundup. And this is your total weed killer. This will wipe out all weeds, all organic matter. Very careful how you use this. Wear PPE if you're using it. Gloves. We all know what PPE is now, but it's got actives in there which are not good to you. Be careful when you're spraying this. It will travel down cracks in pavements, and it'll get into your lawn through water courses and where you don't want it. We use it on the golf course. I don't like using it, but we have to around paths and steps. And weed killers work in certain ways. This is a total weed killer, so this will wipe out everything. And then we go on to our selective weed killers. And how do they work? How do they only take weeds out of grass? Well, a lot of grasses, all grasses, have a thing called a monocot, and weeds are diacots. This is their makeup, their enzymes, their leaf shapes and that. So our weed killers work specifically on the monocots or the diacots. So if we want to spray our fairways, we will use a selective weed killer that will just take out diacots, not monocots. Grasses are all monocots, bamboos, everything else. And we will use a chemical like this is the one we use currently at the golf course, and this is called a selective. So we can spray this on all our grass areas and it will not touch the monocot plants. It will only work on diacot plants. It's not a total weed killer, so you can't spray it on your drive and think it's going to take everything out. It will take out your weeds, but it won't touch grasses where you don't want them growing. We're under strict controls when we use chemicals here. We have to record what we do. We have to write it down in a book or online. Dates, what we use, how much we use, weather conditions, and that's a legal requirement for us. Of course, we're losing a lot of chemicals now, as we talked about before, worried about the water courses becoming poisoned. So don't be too off-put with chemicals. They're very useful if used right. And as I said, PPE, very important, especially with that Roundup. Don't be shy putting it on. You can apply it with these knapsack sprayers, which you can buy reasonably cheap now. If you've got a bigger lawn, or if you have a smaller lawn, you can use one of these pump actions. They're very good. Read the label and calibrate it. We still get accidents. Now, this actually isn't a chemical accident. This is by the 17th. This was a fuel leak on the greens machine. Luckily, it happened in the rough and not when we got to the green. You can't help this. It's mechanical. Things happen with these machines. Even though they're serviced well, we still get accidents like this. Fuel leaks are very difficult to deal with. We just mainly let them grow out if they're in that place. But then we can have the worst case, as you've all seen. And this is a hydraulic oil leak on greens. Not here, by the way. It's a picture off the internet. But you've all seen this. Now, this can be a bit of a disaster. It's the heat of the oil that does the first bit of damage, and then the toxicity of the oil that remains. We try and grow it out. Worst case scenario, we have to cut it out and returf it. Not easy. We also have chemical burns. This is the actual chemical burn up on the 10th green, and this was caused by myself. Put my hand up. Using a chemical to control some weeds, and it's obviously picked up on my feet as I've walked. I did it with a knapsack and walked in front of it. It didn't say anything on the label. It shouldn't be knapsacked on. So we have to report this and what's happened, and they're looking to what's going on. It's obviously picked up on my shoe, and I've over chemicaled these areas. A lot of them are now growing out. Any stubborn ones we will remove. I hope you found that useful. A few pictures from Jackie Brown now at the end. I hope you're enjoying your golf. It all looks like it's nice and busy. Stay safe, abide by the rules, and let's keep on golfing. Take care.